hero of this story wakes up in this totally bizarre place, clueless about where he is, because the last thing he remembers is popping anti-depression pills to keep grinding away at work. Suddenly, his eyes land on these sharp blades lying around, and it doesn't take long for him to realize his kidney's been swiped. As he fumbles to reach for his phone to dial 911, he clumsily tumbles out of bed, only to remember that not just his kidneys, but all his organs are missing, thanks to plummeting kidney prices in the black market. After finally grabbing his phone, he discovers it's been hacked, with the only option left being a red button that promises entry into Desire World, where he can achieve his goal to retrieve his organs to gain his former strength back. With no other choice, he hits the button, and in a flash of creepy scenes, he finds himself in this bizarre place called Desire World. The good news is he's still breathing, but the bad news is his organs are still MIA inside his belly. Suddenly, we spot a bus, which screeches to a halt nearby, and out steps a woman who initially seems like a black silk beauty from the feet up, but her face is downright creepy. Even our virgin takes a cautious step back and blurts out that she's not exactly a stunner. The woman shoots him a death glare at his comment, and he boldly asks if he's supposed to be scared of her clown-like face. He makes it clear he's already lost all his insides before landing in this messed-up reality, so there's nothing left to fear from some seemingly random spicy lady. With a cocky smirk, he even dares her to try and kill a man who's already dead inside. Well, she clearly isn't catching on to what the hell he's saying, so she politely asks him to step inside. He agrees, strutting forward like a champ despite missing his pants. Then, a mischievous smirk spreads across his face as he demands, "Call me master," and tells her to rephrase her words to, "Young master, please board the bus." The woman has no clue what this clown's deal is, but my man insists again that she call him master before instructing him to get on the bus. As he says this, the wind dramatically blows, lifting his gown, and even the lantern seems embarrassed, looking at his pair of balls. Clearly not impressed with his attitude, the woman's face twists into something scary enough to haunt nightmares. But as terrifying as she might seem, my guy slaps her across the face, leaving her neck spinning for a moment, and he demands one last time that she call him master and then commands him to board the bus. The woman looks absolutely pissed after that slap, claiming she was caught off guard and couldn't dodge it. But facing him standing there like a boss, she grits her teeth, swallows her pride, and finally calls him master, telling him to hop on the damn bus. Seeing her good behavior, he throws her a compliment like tossing a bone to a dog before stepping inside. As he does, his ragged lab gown transforms into a badass outfit, making him look like he could rule the underworld. Inside, he notices these other people, and everyone appears to be giving him these uncomfortable stares, which weirded him out. Still, he grabs a seat in front of this shy girl whose boobs seem like they're trying to reach the floor. Guess she forgot her bra today. Once that clown lady hops on the bus, she welcomes everyone to the Desire World and tells them to tune in to the whispers of the gods. This whole whisper thing flies right over our hero's head, while the creepy lady announces that their game has officially started. Meanwhile, back in the real world at the same time, in that same abandoned factory, we see a nerdy-looking surgeon meeting a lady who just rolled up in her Rolls Royce. As she walks over, he quickly hands her the box with all the organs stashed inside. She licks her lips like she's been offered a gourmet treat, while the guy's just itching for his fat paycheck for a job well done. But instead of paying up, she pulls out a gun and blows his brains out with a casual flick of her trigger finger, letting him know that's his well-deserved fat check. Then she plucks our hero's heart from the icebox, her big tongue slithering out as she slurps down that tasty heart like it's some kind of snack. Meanwhile, aboard the Desire World bus, the woman explains their first challenge called abandonment. The task is simple, so listen up. In 10 minutes, they'll reach an old bridge that's too dilapidated to support all of them. If it collapses, everyone dies. But if one person gets off, the rest can safely cross. They're free to vote on who leaves, or even force someone out. While my guy is casually picking up his ear, she insists that only those who complete the final challenge will have their desires fulfilled, with only 5 minutes left. A shaky voice asks what happens if someone gets off. In response, the lady bluntly states they're as good as dead. Seems like death isn't as terrifying to our idiot hero as the thought of leaving his phone unformatted, so he's determined to win this game at any cost. But then he remembers if he is not already dead. Suddenly, a woman speaks up, saying her child hasn't been born yet and she doesn't want to die here. Another guy mentions he has cancer, while someone else says their son is in intensive care and they can't leave the bus. Another person explains their firefighter father is badly injured and needs saving. Everyone starts shouting their reasons. But then a gentleman decides to stop the chaos and just vote. He chooses to throw out the pregnant lady, seeing her as the weakest among the bunch. The woman sinks into despair, tears streaming down her face as she lists all her reasons and pleads for mercy, saying they shouldn't be so cruel. Others remind her that everyone here is suffering too. So tough luck. A man points out she's playing the victim to get someone else killed, making her the cruel one, She bursts into tears, nearly exploding with frustration. The others surround her, quickly opening the bus door and dragging her out while the clown woman eagerly urges them to hurry as the bridge is nearby. Seeing her smirk, the boy can't help but notice her strange satisfaction, as if she wanted this all along. As the pregnant woman is finally pulled off the bus, her hand slips from the support bar, but just in time, our hero grabs hold and pulls her back into the bus. He reminds the rowdy bunch that they agreed to vote before tossing anyone out. But everyone insists they've made up their minds to throw her off. My clever guy, still picking his ears out of habit, points out that she never said only they could leave the bus. He hints that they could also toss her out as well. The woman starts to panic under everyone's scrutiny, while our boy urges them to just get rid of her so everyone can win, and the whole bus turns on her with death glares, leaving her trembling. With his usual nonchalant attitude, he politely shows her the way out of the bus. As the lady tries to assert her authority, my guy brings her back to reality, reminding her that she didn't retaliate when he slapped her earlier, which shows that she can't have authority to harm anyone. The clown lunges at him again, only to be slapped once more across the face, and finds herself kicked out of the bus like yesterday's trash. With her gone, the doors immediately close. It seems everyone has passed the first stage, and their next stop is Weeping Dusk. Suddenly, something materializes in our boy's hand, probably a loot drop for completing the first mission. Then, a strange string of words begins to get in his mind, and there is a message that he has gained the power of the evil spirits after getting inside the bus. But the boy has no idea what this mysterious item actually is, so he tucks it into his gown, thinking it might come in handy later. The bus screeches to a halt in front of a rundown building. Everyone gets off, and the pregnant lady spots a broken doll scattered on the ground. Meanwhile, in the real world, we see a woman with a messed-up corpse-like face, and she is clearly blaming some guy for her miserable state and wishing him dead. Back in Desire World, that creepy doll freaks everyone out except my guy, who just kicks it aside, calling it nothing more than a rag doll. After they disembark, the bus zooms away, leaving them staring at a blood-stained elderly home. Everyone's reluctant to step inside this creepy place. Just as they arrive, a lady pops out of the building, introducing herself as the director and telling everyone to follow her. They walk inside, and there are limbs hanging from the ceiling in the corridor. The lady stops and reminds them about the instructions left by the children at each elder's room door, and they must follow those rules to avoid upsetting the elders, otherwise the consequences will be severe. She points out that the communal kitchen is on the first floor to the far right, and each room has its own bathroom. In the lobby of the elderly home, she tosses a bunch of sheets in the air, saying these are today's tasks for everyone to handle. While everyone scrambles to catch the papers, she starts to walk off, but turns back to add that after it gets dark, they should stay in their rooms and not wander around, and she also warns against sleeping too deeply at night. Once our boy gets his task card, he's supposed to deliver food to the elderly in room 203. He checks the instructions outside each room as told, but he's still puzzled why that sneaky lady didn't mention anything about their salary for working here. Nevertheless, he reads that this old geezer is a mute guy, has a bad temper, likes being unhygienic, and likes to eat well-done meat. With those instructions in mind, he decides to head to the kitchen. After navigating through creepy hallways, he finally finds the kitchen where others are already busy cooking for the elders. Deciding to cook up some juicy tender steak, he gets to work. As he cooks, we overhears the same guy with glasses mentioning it's not his first time in this Desire World. As the senior figure here, he advises everyone that no matter what desires or wishes they seek to fulfill, they should never attempt to resurrect the dead because the deceased can't return to life. Well, it seems that the woman we saw earlier, with her face looking like a corpse, is probably resurrected by this man, so this is how she ended up alive with her messed up face like that. The others start to freak out about the possibility of resurrecting someone, wondering if they'd come back as ghosts. To which the man responds that they better steer clear of resurrecting others, because he is sure that the thing which will come to life will be far worse than a ghost. On the other hand, my guy is ready to impress his elder with his juicy steak. Shortly after, he returns back to room 203 and gives a knock on the door and announces the meal's arrival. Once he gets no response, he cautiously proceeds to enter after announcing his entry. Inside, he tells the creepy old man to dig into his meal. The scrawny man promptly gets out of bed and walks over to the steak our hero placed on the table. First, he sniffs the meat, then quickly devours it like a dog. Seeing the old man's enthusiasm, the protagonist is relieved everything went smoothly. Or so he thought. Suddenly, the wild old man goes berserk with his disgusting face turning into this fiend, and his beast-like hand piercing our hero's belly with sharp, monstrous fingers. However, to the old man's surprise, there are no delicious innards to feed upon inside our boy. Shocked by this revelation, he withdraws his hand, only to thrust it back in to thoroughly search the boy's insides, confirming once again that his belly is indeed empty. After a thorough search, the fiend realizes there's nothing inside and wonders if this boy is even human. As our boy, furious with the old man, unleashes his evil spirit power through gritted teeth, he can't help but wonder why everyone's so eager to take his innards. The evil spirit possessing our hero transforms him into a formidable figure, leaving the old man recoiling on the ground. After grabbing the old man by his face, the boy slams him down, demanding to know why he's so damn picky about his food. Blood trickles down the old man's head as our hero relentlessly pounds him into the ground. After lifting him up once more, he smashes the old man down again, ensuring the lesson hits home. Just as he's finishing up, a pregnant woman peers into the room, horrified to see our hero standing over the old man, and the room is now a chaotic mess of blood. When he realizes someone's behind him, he turns around and sees her, while his creepy evil spirit still lingering in the background, which gives that poor woman creeps of her life. Once the woman faints, our boy ignores her for the time being and focuses on the old man, surrounded by his ominous aura and backed by the evil spirit. He grabs the old guy by his long hair and tells him the only reason he's still breathing is because he's supposed to take care of him. But his spirit gets wilder, urging him to just finish the old bastard off. Just as the spirit demands this, it starts fading, like some crappy shadow that talked big but could only last 3 minutes. My guy's furious, realizing this pathetic thing couldn't even last 3 minutes. So he's freaking out, trying to summon again, but bam. He once again gets hit with a cooldown message saying he can only summon this thing once every 3 hours. Realizing he's stuck, he tries to make things nice with the old man. But when he sees this scrawny dude is trembling like a leaf, my guy switches tactics. His eyes turn red hot, and he gives the old man a stare down that could scare a ghost, asking him if he is ready to eat his food or not. Of course, the poor guy starts wolfing down his food like a good little dog. After this wild ride, our protagonist reflects on how the spirit's influence affects his mind, causing thoughts of violence that a civilized person like him wouldn't normally entertain. So, he starts dragging that pregnant lady into the room, trying to figure out how to handle her because he's not keen on his evil spirit secret getting out. But then she wakes up, and he's like, "Shh, no screaming." But of course, the poor lady freaks out again. I mean, who wouldn't be scared when there's this shady guy with a ghost hanging around him? Anyway, he puts a hand over her mouth, reassuring her he's not a bad guy since he is from the investigation department, so she's safe. The woman reluctantly agrees to keep quiet, not because she trusts him, but because our boy looks like he could be trouble, and she'd rather not mess with him if she wants to stay alive. She then grabs his feet, begging him to help and promising she'll do anything he asks. Our hero responds coolly that he'll lend a hand, but he's not making any promises and won't risk his own neck for her if things get hairy. The woman breaks down in tears, thanking him profusely. She introduces herself as Yoon Lee, and her task here is to assist an elderly lady with a bath, but there's been a hitch in her plans. About an hour later, we're in the main hall where all the players are gathered. Some are griping about losing an ear, others are explaining how they've lost fingers to the old coots around here. But jaws drop when a guy limps out, missing a leg. He explains it got chomped on, but he's somehow still alive. Thankfully not dead yet. But then they start talking about why did our hero has not arrived yet. And right on cue, the director also appears in the scene while cleaning off her face drenched with blood as if she just had some human flesh for dinner. The director quickly asks if everyone's done with their tasks. Some participants nervously ask if they'll be eaten if their tasks aren't finished. She excitedly responds that it doesn't matter. She would love to eat them anyway because she relishes the taste of human flesh. Just then, the pregnant woman and our boy arrive on the scene. The director immediately calls out to him, asking why he's standing behind. Our boy responds smoothly that he was mesmerized by her beauty, which is why he couldn't move. The director, clearly not impressed by his flattery, just tells him straight up that if the tasks aren't done and there are complaints by the elders, she is afraid that she might have to follow the rules. She warns them they still have 2 hours until dark, and if their tasks aren't done by then, they better prepare to get grilled alive. Before leaving, she leans in and whispers into our hero's ear that she'll definitely be visiting him tonight. The guy, quick to jump to conclusions, starts fantasizing that she might be up for clapping some cheeks because of his flattery, but soon realizes he's not into older women. Anyway, once she's gone, everyone turns to him, questioning if he's unharmed, assuming that means he must have finished his task. They figure it must have been easy for him, and since he helped Yoon-Lee, they expect him to help them too. They are pretty sure that he must have found a hidden game mechanism to deal with those old geezers. The guy with glasses, who just lost his leg, tries to guilt trip our hero, saying they should help each other. Some even call him selfish for not helping, which finally pushes him over the edge. Fed up with all the moral blackmail, he explodes and tells them he absolutely hates this kind of guilt tripping. He grabs Yunli's hand and starts walking away, muttering that these guys don't have anything to offer and just want his help for free. But then the one-legged man catches his interest by mentioning he doesn't have any clues right now, but he sure knows a lot about the world of desire. Our hero turns around, curious, and asks if he's willing to talk. The one-legged man agrees, saying he's up for sharing his last experience in the world of desire in exchange for help with those pesky elders. He starts off with his story from the beginning. He used to be a hardcore gambler, totally addicted. He blew through all his money, got deep in debt with loan sharks, and got beat up by debt collectors all the time. Then his phone got hijacked by this World of Desire game, dragging him into a crazy world where he had to take on a challenge. Back then, all he wanted was money. Almost $1 million. After winning the game and coming back to the real world, his wish came true. He got exactly $1 million, but it came with a heavy price. His father fell from a high place at his construction job and ended up in a vegetative state. So while he got his $1 million, it cost him his dad's health, and his father's still stuck in the hospital. Once our hero hears the guy's sob story, he realizes that getting desires fulfilled isn't as chill and easy as it sounds. They seem to come true in a way that's kinda reasonable, but with some serious downsides. He starts worrying that his own desire to get his organs back might lead to some messed up stuff, like getting back decayed organs or having them taken from someone who's already had a transplant. He knows he needs to be smart about avoiding these bad outcomes. The one-legged guy begs for help again, saying everyone's supposed to handle 3 rooms. But he lost his leg just dealing with 1 room. Well, our guy doesn't have much to say since he's not sure if killing and beating those old geezers is a good idea. So he just tells them he didn't find any game mechanisms and decides to leave. When they get inside the room, the poor old man is still shaking in the corner, clearly terrified by our boy's presence. The guy figures that if he wants any clues about this game, the old man might be able to help. The lady asks why he didn't help earlier if he's with the officials. He replies that back in the bus, they almost kicked her off, so he doesn't see why she's backing up those thugs. He also spins a story about needing to keep his identity hidden because he's an official. She says she gets why they pushed her, because she's got her own desire she's trying to fulfill. She shares that her husband, who was a firefighter, died in a rescue operation. Now, the only thing she's got left is this baby. The doctors told her the baby is deformed and probably won't survive, so she's ready to do whatever it takes to keep her baby safe. Hearing her sob story, our hero gets saddened and he immediately gets hyped up to help them at all cost, and quickly calls that old man here with his simple hand gesture. Before he starts grilling the scrawny guy, he gives him a scare by saying there'll be leniency for those who confess, but harsh punishment for those who resist. After a bit, the old man scribbles down everything he knows on paper, saying he doesn't like well-done meat, even though the note outside his room door said he does. Our guy gets really pissed off, realizing this was a setup to push the players into making wrong decisions from the start. The lady asks if he got any leads, to which he admits he's analyzed the clue but isn't sure if it applies to her too. She understands and tells him to just use this as a way to cross-check the clues he's got. Besides, if it weren't for him, she'd already be in serious trouble by now. The boy replies that the info left by the children outside the door is probably misleading. He suggests that if she acts contrary to what those rules say, she might have a chance to avoid getting into trouble. Once the woman walks off, he starts thinking again about the director who gave him the creeps with her soft voice in his ear, and he is praying because he does not want her to come here. Almost 2 hours later, he's chilling on his bed, realizing mission time is up and wondering if the pregnant lady succeeded in her task. Suddenly, the door creaks open, and he's startled to see the director at his place. She immediately calls him over, saying she's really eager to ride his ding-dong. He's confused, not sure if she's actually inviting him to get laid or if she wants to tear him apart. Even though his evil spirit cooldown is over, he's still unsure if he can handle her. So he tries to play it cool, saying he's actually a man without an engine and that bad people took his V12 engine, leaving him without his little ding-dong, along with his pair of balls so he can't love anyone. The woman tells him to stop messing around, and he swears under his breath. Seeing he's just a lunatic, she decides to leave but assigns him a task before going. The player in charge of Elder 401 and the Elder themselves are missing, so he better find them before going to sleep. In response, he cheekily reminds her that she said everyone should stay inside at night, so he is not risking his life. But the woman reassures him that if he actually finds them, he'll definitely get paid for it. He then gets sassy, saying he doesn't care about the reward as long as the director is satisfied. He then gets down to business and recalls that the woman in charge of 401 was that saggy Hooter lady, and surprisingly, he didn't see her in the lobby this afternoon, and he's pretty sure the woman might be dead by now. Anyway, he starts sprinting down the corridor, determined to find the saggy Hooter lady. As he frantically runs around the stairs to reach the 4th floor, he suddenly feels a chill down his spine. He senses a creepy presence and hears the clatter of high heels getting closer from behind. Before he can even turn around, a ghostly woman in a monstrous form is right there, ready to take a bite out of his candy butt. It turns out the ghost is just your run-of-the-mill type. Since he doesn't have any organs left, he's not too freaked out. But this ghost woman just keeps following him, licking around his cheeks like she's obsessed with his stinky, salty body. Eventually, he decides he can't ignore this anymore and starts to freak out. Then he hears some singing and realizes the high-heeled legs are still right behind him. At this point, he's so scared he might as well crap his pants, but he tries to stay tough despite his terror. When the ghost starts climbing up his back, he finally decides to get serious. He tries to scare her off with some weird spell he probably learned from a random game. He even threatens her with consequences, but as her hand starts freezing his and she's almost right by his ear, he bolts, running like a total scaredy cat. Finally, he reaches the top of the stairs, and as soon as he walks through the gate, the coldness on his hand vanishes. He looks back and sees that the ghost can't come any further. It just stands at the stairs while the hand that was holding him starts going back to the ghost. That's when he realizes the ghost is fragmented. When he first went up to the 3rd floor, he only heard footsteps. By the 4th floor, there was an extra tongue and hand, and now he sees her body parts scattered all over the corridor. She's struggling, and he figures if he had waited for her to piece herself together, he'd be a goner. At least he's alive after that heart-pounding encounter. Well, not exactly a heart-pounding, considering he doesn't even have a heart to begin with. Man, I wish the surgeons had taken his brain too, because the way he's acting is ridiculously stupid. Not sure why the writer gave him this playboy vibe when he simply has a personality of a schlub. As he walks down the corridor, he notices there isn't a single drop of blood, which makes him think the 4th floor isn't as messed up as the 2nd floor. When he finally finds room 401, he reads the note on the door. It says the old man living here has dementia and loves playing hide-and-seek, always hiding behind curtains. The note warns that he never tires of the game, so it's dangerous to play with him and advises just ignoring him. Considering the clue he gathered on the 2nd floor, he decides to flip the information around. The best way to make him happy might be to actually play the game. He steps inside and starts calling out. But when he gets no response, he enters the room and notices there aren't any curtains, even though the note mentioned that the old man loves hiding behind them. As he's searching the room for something useful, he spots curtains in the corridor outside that seem to be moving. To his surprise, he sees a pair of unmistakable, saggy hooters, and the woman is rushing toward him, pleading for help. She grabs him in an unexpected hug, making him a bit uneasy, but he quickly asks her what happened. She starts crying, explaining that she tried to play hide-and-seek with the old man she was responsible for. Hearing this, our boy is confused as to why she's so upset, especially since his analysis suggested that playing with the old man should have been safe. We flash back a few hours to when she was looking for the old man who was hiding. She eventually found him behind the curtains, but he asked her to play again. This time, when she looked behind the curtains, she was horrified to find not just 1 but 2 old men hiding there. The 3rd time she checked, there were 3. She then points our boy's attention at front, showing all these old geezers lined up behind these curtains. She explains that every time she plays, more of them show up. Desperate, she's even willing to become his girlfriend because he came to find her on his own. She's hoping that if he's willing to help her, he must have a thing for her. The boy agrees to help, but he makes it clear he's only doing it because he was assigned to the task. But this piece of work pushes him to the front, saying since he's her boyfriend, he has to save her. Then she runs off like a scaredy cat, leaving poor dude to handle this shady old guy. He's all set to unleash his evil spirit if things go south. He then rushes to the curtains and yanks them aside, only to find a bunch of hippo-sized guys in suits. Their serious faces suddenly turn into a full-blown horror show. Our guy, shocked, asks how many Soul Temple elders these guys had to munch on to get this huge. The fatties just go bonkers, opening their giant mouths and lunging at him. In a flash, he summons his evil spirit and takes his stance. As the beast lunges at him, he channels some energy into his hand and gives the guy a slap so hard that his head goes straight into the ground. But it looks like the nightmare's just begun, because there's still a whole crowd of them left. But our guy doesn't hold back. He just keeps pounding the crap out of them, until one of the fatties manages to poke a hole right into his belly, and another takes a chance to lunge at him. Staying cool, he grabs the fatty's hand and rips it off like he's squashing a rotten banana. That's when he gets seriously intense. With just a flick of his finger, he starts beating the snot out of them, leaving them groaning in pain. The screams of these elders echo through the place, and soon enough, the curtains are splattered with blood and limbs are scattered all over the ground. He looks pretty exhausted after all that, but he quickly gets back into his cocky mode, calling them a bunch of useless slobs. Just then, the evil spirit vanishes after its 3-minute stint. He thinks he's finally done with them, but suddenly the guys start getting up again. Their flesh and blood instantly recover, and they're back on their feet like nothing ever happened. He starts freaking out, yelling that this is just ridiculous and straight-up cheating. Then it finally hits him. They're all going crazy because of the red moon outside. The shady director's warning to stay inside after dark suddenly makes sense, and this blood moon must be the reason for all the chaos. Our boy figured out that the director knew exactly what was going to happen once the red moon appeared. She clearly didn't care about anyone, and her plan was to let the elders devour everyone. He gets his cool back and decides it's time to act. He leaps into the air, steps over one of the old geezers, and quickly pulls the curtains over the window. As soon as he does, the fatties start vanishing, leaving just a simple-minded old man with no hostility on his face. It puts a smile on our boy's face, thinking his plan worked. He gives the old man a gentle pat and politely tells him to hit the hay since it's gotten pretty late. After that, he grabs a blanket and covers the elder to make sure he does not get spooky once again. Sitting on the staircase, he sees a saggy hooter lady crawling up the stairs, begging her boyfriend to save her. But it's too late. The monster grabs her head and pops it like a balloon. 3 hours later, he quickly summons his evil spirit and dashes down the stairs. As he runs, he spots the saggy hooter's heels and blood splattered around, but he keeps going until he's back at his room, 203. The old man is still sitting in the chair like a good, faithful dog. It seems that while the elders in the nursing home go mad when exposed to the blood moon, this elder is probably too terrified to get mad thanks to our hero. The boy tells the old coot to write down what he wants to eat tomorrow so he doesn't have to beat the crap out of him again. The poor dude quickly scribbles raw meat on the paper. So, the boy promises to serve him a large, delicious intestine sashimi tomorrow. Then he asks the old man how he came to like raw meat. The old man says he doesn't actually like it himself, his son does. Our guy wonders if the old man intentionally left out all this meat for his son, to which the old man replies he has no idea when his son will come back. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Seems like our hero finally gets the gist of the situation. The old man's son ditched him in this shady nursing home, and the raw meat left out day after day has gone rancid. It's like a messed up blend of love and hate, and our hero thinks it's pretty cruel. He wonders if this is what makes this place a world of desires. Finally, this wild ride of a night has finally came to an end in this elderly care home. In the next scene, people are gathered in the hallway again, and it's clear the number of folks has significantly dwindled. The boy makes his way through the crowd, relieved to find the pregnant woman still alive. When they meet, she admits that without the clues he gave her, she'd have already blown her task. The boy just shrugs and tells her she earned it through her own effort. If she wants to help others, she's free to share her experience. Just then, the director shows up, looking pretty impressed that there are still quite a few people left. She tosses a new stash of sheets into the air and announces, "These are the tasks for today," hoping everyone will still be around to see tomorrow. She then calls over to our boy. As he reaches for the envelope, she reminds him that even though that saggy hooter bit the dust last night, he managed to bring the old man back, which is still pretty impressive, and she hasn't forgotten to reward him for his efforts from last night. She pulls him in closer and casually says she'll swing by tonight. Then she hands over the envelope and quietly leaves, and the boy starts crying about his rotten luck. By the way, his name is Wang Ming. I just recently came to know about his name, because there is not a single mention of it until now. Looks like the envelope is packed with some kind of currency from this world of desires, but he's got no clue what it's worth in this messed up place. The same gambler shows up and explains that this is the world's currency. He's seen others use it in the last challenge, and it's called a wishing coin. Wang Ming just slips the cash into his gown, thinking it's a pretty catchy name for some green paper. The gambler warns him not to underestimate it, saying players in his last visit ended up killing each other over 10 wishing coins, and 3 of them ended up dead. The gambler then asks what went down last night and why the director gave him so much cash. Annoyed, Wang Ming says that Sneaky Fox tricked him into helping out on the 4th floor to find a missing elder. Everyone's pretty shocked by this and starts chatting among themselves, wondering if it's some kind of secret mission. Some are even saying they'd never dare go to the 4th floor in the middle of the night. The gambler steps up again and reminds Wang Ming about the info he gave him earlier. He's ready to dish out even more details about this world, but only if Wang Ming spills his own secrets to make progress in this challenge. Wang Ming smirks, already guessing the gambler has more up his sleeve, and agrees to the trade. So the gambler starts sharing. First off, he mentions that everyone here is from Linhai City, and this world of desire attracts players by region. Suddenly, the pregnant woman remembers something about this firefighter's son. She asks this boy if his father got hurt fighting a fire at a central shopping mall. The boy confirms, and she reveals that her husband's name is Chin Hong. It doesn't take long for the little one to realize that this guy was the captain of the fire brigade. Wang Ming quickly jumps right into this, and tells them to just drop this catching up for later. On the other hand, the gambler hands over his phone number and says if Wang Ming gives him the right clues, he'll reward him with 100 grand once they get out of here. The others chime in too, offering thousands of dollars in exchange for the secrets Wang Ming has. Our boy was originally planning to only share clues with the pregnant woman, but seeing how much everyone is willing to pay, he decides to spill the beans. Since everyone's asking so eagerly, he figures he might as well be merciful and shares all the clues he's been keeping. After laying it all out, he heads back to a new elderly's room and finds another clue. The note says the mother has Alzheimer's disease and forgets things, even things like going to the bathroom. Though she has a manic personality, she won't hurt anyone. So players, or you could call them caretakers, shouldn't be afraid. With that in mind, Wang Ming steps into the room. As soon as he enters, he feels something massive looming behind him. And as the scene zooms out, we find a gigantic, terrifying monster ready to devour him. Then, out of nowhere, the woman shows up, grabs him by the neck, and starts choking the life out of him. She's barely recognizable as human, with a wild, frenzied look on her face, demanding to know where her daughter is. Wang Ming quickly pulls out his ticket, ready to summon his evil spirit. But then it hits him. This lady can forget everything, even basic stuff like going to the bathroom. So he comes up with a plan and reassures her that she is her daughter, and she is here to see her. The woman's expression softens. While her tongue is still hanging out, she asks if she's really Xiaofang. Wang Ming confirms it, and the woman gets all worked up, berating herself for not recognizing her own daughter. Playing the role of the daughter, Wang Ming reassures her that everything is fine. He tells her that her daughter is hurt because of the fierceness she just showed. The woman immediately apologizes, saying it's all her fault. She thought he was just a caretaker. Wang Ming, playing along, asks what's wrong with caretakers. He says he thinks they're pretty nice people and that she's been lucky to have them. Well, the woman's face starts twisting once again, and before we can realize what she is thinking, the chapter ends abruptly, leaving us with a cliffhanger. But as surprising as it was, nothing terrible happened, and the old lady did not rush at our boy. She just told us how badly the caretakers treat her, beating her and not letting her eat. But that's not all. These cruel caretakers give some old people painful injections, after which they die in agony, and their screams can be heard all over the building. Now Wang Ming realized why the old people have such a negative attitude towards the challenge participants. They just think that it is the caretakers who are dangerous. Our hero immediately realized that this was an important and useful clue. The old lady completely believed that Wang Ming was her daughter Xiaofang and started asking to take her home from such a bad place. Our boy had no choice but to promise her that he would definitely take her back, but only after he finished his work here, and after he'd cleaned his beloved mommy's room. The old lady just glowed with happiness, confident that she had the best daughter in the world. So Wang Ming was able to complete his task without any problems. The night of the second day in the bloody elderly home soon came, and it didn't take long for the director of this place to show up. Wang Ming rushed towards her, ready to fulfill any errand. This time, without any foreplay, she ordered our boy to help her carry the stuff that was about to be delivered from the entrance gate to the 5th floor. However, that was not all. She gave him a condition not to open the box under any circumstances. Then she left, leaving our Wang Ming puzzled at what had happened to her. Her character had changed so drastically, and she had become colder than ice. In fact, it was very simple. The director was in a bad mood because she didn't know what these challenge players were doing, and most importantly, why none of them had died today. Had they figured out the secret to taking care of the old people? A truck pulled up to the bloody elderly care home, and an ugly-looking, clown-like delivery man dropped a box at the gate. Wang Ming decided to ask him something and greeted the delivery guy as friendly as possible and asked why he looked so strange and if he was an employee of the elderly home. There was only silence in response, so our boy decided to ask a simpler question, what the delivery man does. But he just looked at him with a blank stare and mumbled inaudibly that he didn't know. Wang Ming realized that it was just the driver. Still, he couldn't resist asking what was in the box. But the delivery man was clearly not eager to talk and was going to leave quickly. Our hero could not let him just run away without sharing information. Even though he had failed to fool the delivery man at first, there was still more to come. Therefore, Wang Ming suggested him to take his time and rest a bit and have a little smoke before leaving. Even the delivery guy couldn't refuse such an offer, but here's the problem. In order to smoke, you need cigarettes, which our boy didn't have. However, the red packet was sticking treacherously out of the delivery man's pocket. As soon as the delivery boy realized what Wang Ming was implying, his face immediately contorted with anger. He was about to rush at our hero when the banknote of the currency of wishes flew into his face. It turned out that to defeat the delivery man, money was more than enough, and our hero, as a real Mr. Rich-ass, was not stingy at all to pour money. The behavior of the delivery man changed drastically. Now he was softer and more polite than the errand boy and apologized for the past misunderstanding. Indeed, money can solve any misunderstanding. Even in the ghost world, the main thing is to have the right currency. Now the delivery boy was not at all reluctant to share a cigarette. But Wang Ming wasn't really a smoker. He just wanted to talk a little and ask a few questions. Money is also good at untying the tongue, and now the delivery man immediately asked if our boy really wanted to know what was in the box. Wang Ming was surprised at such guesswork but did not deny it. After all, he himself had asked this question a few minutes ago. Well, the delivery boy knew what was inside the box. There were just some potions in there, mostly tranquilizers. Such an opportunity to learn more could not be missed, and our hero asked what they were used for. The delivery man lighting a cigarette was surprised that Wang Ming was working here, and didn't know. But still he said that they are used for troublesome old geezers. Literally one injection is enough to make the most rebellious old person more obedient than a lamb. This immediately reminded Wang Ming of what the old lady in room 204 said. Is this the same injection that kills people as soon as it's injected into the blood? And since the director has specially ordered a new batch, maybe she plans to use it for a new task the next day. Our hero's thoughts were interrupted by a delivery man who was wondering if Wang Ming was new here and if he was not afraid to walk between floors at night. There are rumors that a very scary thing appears there. Then our boy asked to tell more about it. The delivery boy hesitated. It wasn't a pleasant memory, and he wasn't sure if he should tell him at all. It's a secret that not many people know about. But our hero had one very significant argument to convince him. As soon as Wang Ming waved the banknotes in front of the delivery man's face and asked him what he had just said, the delivery man forgot about all the restrictions and was ready to share even confidential information with his rich bro. For money, he would gladly tell everything he knows. Now, here's a story that goes back a long time. People say that a long time ago in this city lived a little girl who loved her mother very much. When the little girl grew a little older, her mom got very sick. The girl worked hard to earn money for medicine and took care of her sick mother. She was so devoted that she even voluntarily gave up a promising career and decided to work as a caregiver in a nursing home to spend more time with her mom. All was well until one day when the girl's mom suddenly disappeared. When she was found again, she had been torn into pieces and dumped in the trash bins near the stairs at the entrance to each floor. It was a horrifying sight, and those trash bins still stand there to this day. When that girl found out about it, she just went crazy with grief and jumped off the roof of that nursing home. Now, Wang Ming realized that that ghost on the stairs was the girl's mother. But he was curious what else the delivery man would tell him, what happened next, and had the killer been found. However, he didn't know anything else. After all, he is just an ordinary delivery guy. Wang Ming was also grateful for what he had learned. It explained a lot. Meanwhile, the delivery man hurried onward to deliver his next order. Our boy didn't plan on delaying him any further either. Suddenly, before leaving, the delivery man handed our hero a candle and a box of matchsticks, in gratitude for the money that he couldn't accept for nothing. He advised him to light the candle the next time he went up the stairs. It would help our hero live a little longer in a world full of ghosts. So Wang Ming returned to the nursing home and had to walk up to the 5th floor. The blood moon is not over yet, and on the stairs he is sure he will encounter the ghost of that girl's mom. Therefore, Wang Ming decided to light a candle just in case. The fire of this candle was not simple at all. However, our boy did not trust it completely. So he pushed the gas pedal so hard that any ghost even without the candle wouldn't be able to keep up with him. He made it to the 4th floor without any trouble at all, and only then he turned back. There was an unformed ghost waiting for him in disappointment, asking him to wait for her. This was the perfect moment to check whether the candle works. Wang Ming raised it higher and shouted to the ghost to get lost. And it worked. The ghost heels ran away hurriedly. It was cool, and our boy made no secret of how much he liked it when he scared the ghosts rather than the other way around. Walking further, Wang Ming was going to end it all and look into one of the trash bins, which were exactly where the delivery man said they were. Looks like he really wasn't lying. There was blood on the lid of the trash can, and when our hero opened it, he shouted out in surprise. There was a disgusting old leather face mask lying inside, which for some reason reminded Wang Ming of the girl who had died on those steps. Could it really be her? Now it was no wonder he hadn't seen her last night. So her remains were put separately in the trash bin. Looking at such a pitiful end, Wang Ming thought that unfortunately, but for those obsessed with their desire, death becomes the only release. Finally, our boy reached the 5th floor and approached room 501. This room was different from the others. There was no information left on the door by the children of the old men, and the director hadn't assigned anyone to look after the elderly in room 501 from the beginning. Then our hero assumed that there might be some secret of the director hidden inside. He just couldn't resist to check it out and started to reach for the handle as the director herself suddenly appeared from somewhere. And with a manic look, she asked him what he was going to do. Wang Ming immediately started to awkwardly excuse himself that he had just brought what she asked for and wanted to ask where to put the box. This all looked suspicious to her, but still she calmed down and asked him to put the box a little further down the hall. Our boy hurried to get away from her, but this time the director no longer lost sight of him and followed him. Finally, when they reached the right place, she ordered the box to be put on the floor, and in her hands she brought an envelope with a work reward. But when Wang Ming turned around to pick up the award, the sight awaiting him was not for the faint of heart. In front of him was not a director in her human form at all. That's when our boy realized that he had screwed up and now he should run as fast as he could, but he wanted to take the award too. As soon as he took the envelope, the director became even bigger and scarier under the influence of the blood moon. It turns out she forgot to mention something very important. Anyone who gets to the 5th floor may not even hope to come back down alive. In such a situation, Wang Ming had no choice but to activate his evil spirit. Of course he didn't expect such a trick from her. Our hero was honestly doing her errands, and she repaid him in such a way. Well, let her go to hell then. The ghost director didn't hesitate for a second. Right now she had one wish, for Wang Ming to die. And she was very close to her goal. Her devastating blow almost shattered our hero's head. Usually her one strike was usually enough, and she was in no hurry to attack further just yet. Wang Ming meanwhile was safely sealed into the wall. If he didn't put his hand up in time, he would have been dead. The director's ghost was too strong, although it wasn't surprising, seeing as she had so many years of practice on patients. Our boy realized that he couldn't defeat such a powerful evil ghost alone, unless he could trust in a well-tested method, and as soon as the director lunged at her victim again, Wang Ming activated his evil spirit. But not for battle. Oh no. He didn't want to die as easily and quickly as the ghost wanted him to. Instead, like a true master of this matter, he decided to escape. And slipping right under the sinister figure, Wang Ming ran with all his might, reassuring her in parting that he wasn't foolish enough to fight someone he couldn't defeat. At least not in this form. He knew how to fix it, though. And he was running now straight to the window, from behind which the light of the blood moon was shining into the room. Unfortunately, there was a disappointment waiting for him. There were no curtains at all. It was an unexpected and unfortunate turn of events, especially when you have a bloodthirsty ghost on your tail, who had just crept up from behind and mockingly asked what was the point of trying your best when it was useless. Wang Ming must be disappointed and suppressed by this outcome of events and such an end to his existence. The director was going to finish him off right now and put an end to his useless and pathetic life as she thought. But our hero wasn't going to give up so easily and decided to use cunning where strength was lacking. Pointing behind the director's back, he shouted to her to turn around and see who had come to them. Her second confusion was enough to attack, and now she was slammed into the wall just like our hero, who was now running away from here praying that his evil spirit would not end for at least another minute. Of course such a blow could not stop her for long, and soon enough the ghost began to chase Wang Ming again. He tried his best to think of a way to get out of this narrow corridor, and as his only salvation, he spotted the very door the director didn't want him to go through, room 501. Our boy, before he died, wanted to at least see what secret she was hiding here. Seeing where he was going, the ghost screamed in a crazy voice that he couldn't go in there. But our hero made it clear to her that he no longer obeyed her. He told her goodbye in his trademark manner. The director was just furious. She almost managed to get to Wang Ming, but only managed to kiss the door. As soon as our boy closed the door, the evil spirit's effect ended, and he was left to himself in a room that was different in its cleanliness from the others. Once Wang Ming had caught his breath and assured himself that he had had enough for the day, he turned to look around the room, and froze on the spot in surprise. It turned out that he was not alone in the room. In the corner sat a young girl very similar to the director and cried incessantly. I think you've already guessed that the director is the girl whose sad story was told by the delivery guy. And if you want to know how the story will continue further, then do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video.